more than half an inch. Right, you see this? Can you just switch? So, you see the straw here, right? And what you have to do is, Google it in my okay, so you see here, yeah. And all you need to do is you need to, gently push this until it goes through. Or you can even make a small hole with a pin. But this is itself good enough to. It's easier to do it with a pin. Plier. When you put a plier, then. You should have a straight wire. And just push it.
You can have pin.
Or pin would do. No, actually this works. So that hold it closer. Just hold it close. The problem is that if it bends once, then it's very difficult to push it in again. Just do it again. Actually finish doing this and then I'll focus it on. Once I let me just finish it this way because I can't see what I'm doing there.
I just put it on the blog, So I was
Put it.
when I'm making
पिन है क्या पिन है क्या चला पिन देने पिन देने था
I think it's good.
पिन देने
Basically, you make us. The whole thing is that the hole has to be extremely thin. Okay, don't happen. If the hole is not thin, then the wire will be loose. Okay, so you pass it through this like this. Okay, you pass it through this. I don't know whether you can.
Yeah.
Then you bend this a little so that now you have this wire here, and now you start rolling this. Okay, so you just keep rolling it over and over like that, right? Right? So you just keep rolling it. It has to be every turn has to be next to each other, and after every couple of turns, you just push these in again. See how you're doing this, right? So that's how you make it until you come to the end of the coil, and at the end of the coil, you again make a small hole. At times, it makes sense to make the hole, to begin with itself. All right, but that's all there is to it. And you just keep feeding it in. The turns have to be very nicely aligned to each other, like that. All right. So this is how you make this, and you plug it wherever. Okay. Then you have something like that available here, and you make a small hole here. Then pull it. Turn this in. Pull it out from the other side. have not put too many terms here because I wanted to finish this work fast. So you can actually put too many, the required number of terms. I'll tell you how many terms are required. Then actually what you have to do is from this side, pull this out with this, right? So you've got a nice coil done here. See that coil? It's done nicely. To this coil, add Fevikwik. Very thin plastic, otherwise it's completely air. It's one of the best coils that you can make for RF work because it's completely air core, there is no loss. So the tube will exceed 200 or 300, it's actually far better than a toroid. Okay, so now what you have to do is, for these two, you have to have 2 microhenries. Okay, just refer it to, yeah, it's much easier to refer to this. Yeah, I have it on my. So for these 2 microhenry things, you have to put a lot of turns here. This is 34 turns, this is also 34 turns. These are 34 turns on a quarter-watt straw. Which is a straw which is available in most of the supermarket. It's a quarter-inch straw. So just measure whether it's a quarter-inch or not. You can keep it on the scale like this and see whether it's a quarter-inch straw. So 34 turns, 34 turns. 2 coils have to be made like this. Okay. Now, for the VFO, go down. Now, wait, I'll show you where the VFO is. That's what the VFO is, right? Okay, now this VFO, if you see, there are some changes we have made. Okay. First change is that there is no tuning capacitor here. There was supposed to be a tuning capacitor attached, you don't attach a tuning capacitor at all. Instead of that, this coil itself, actually the coil is not being shown here. In the souvenir it shows the L4. Okay, the L4 has to have 50. Yeah, it has to have. L4 is 4.4 microhenries, okay, and this, okay, these 2 microhenry coils will take about 0.6 inches in length, as you find it, okay, and this 4.4 microhenry coil will require about 50 turns. It can be 4.4, 4.5, it doesn't matter because the trimmer will actually do the final adjustment of the. Okay. So this is an old one. The values are changed and the correct values are there in the souvenir. But I'll give you these values again in any case. Now here, the C59 and C60, C59 and C60, they are 220 pf, not 560 pf because this was meant for 20 meters. Then the 58, C58 is 47 pf. Okay, and this diode D14 is no longer a zener, it is just a 1N4007. That's it. And just to get a higher range, the C56 can be 220 or 100 pf. Let's say 100 pf.
C56 100
Okay.
pf.
Now what happens is this clear? I'm just giving different values because this was meant originally the original BITX worked with 10 megahertz and it required a 4 megahertz DFO. But now the IF is around 4.4 13.9 megahertz, so the DFO has to be at 12, which is why these are changed. Okay, then there's an interesting thing here. There's a potentiometer which goes in here, right? So if one end is connected to 9 volts and the other was connected to ground, so you could go between 9 and 0. But there's a resistor, if you add this, so this range is restricted. With 1N4001, you require a 4.7 K. So that is R55
4.7 K.
4.7 K. These values are there in the souvenir. Can someone give me a souvenir copy and this confirm whether these are there? If they are not there, then you make the person to their data.
बुक मध्ये सोवेनियर बुक आहे ना तो ते दे त्यांना.
Now, input to पूरे point पर ही. इसमें yeah, yeah. Yeah, this has all the correct values here. These has these values. I'm just changing these values from here. These values are correct here. Because I remember putting these values correctly. I'm just telling you how to make the coils. The rest are fine. Okay, this is fine. Then there's another simplification which I have done. I'll just move to the modulator. Just move back. Then we could have observed that deep. So here I have eliminated this entire thing now. You don't require this, that trimmer, this, etc. You don't require them at all. You just use the diodes directly. That is this D11. See, it's like this, right? There are two coils like this, and this comes in here like this. They are upside down with each other. They were going to this, that preset, right? They were going to the preset, and then there was this balance control. Now what has happened is this balance control requires an oscilloscope and stuff like that. So it is best that you don't do the balance control at all. In fact, because most of the time DITX you leave it in some place where you are looking for maximum smoke, maximum amplitude on your RF meter. So you end up unbalancing it for maximum. So the full carrier is going out, the carrier will be going out. So instead of that, don't solder this. And where the preset is, you actually just put a jumper. For example, preset has these 3 points, right? The preset has these 3 points. Just short it together. So now, how do you? These two diodes have to be now very well matched. Matching these diodes is not such a big problem because what has happened is in your VITX, you require a lot of diodes everywhere. See this D5, D7, D6, etc. They are all 1N4148s. Out of this, now you have to pick up 2 diodes which are closely matched. That's all, right? So to do that, what you do is, it's very simple. You just need one resistor. Take a 4.7 or a 2.2K. Anything will do. Anything above 1K and below 10K. Okay? Give this to 12 volts. Simple circuit should be like this. And this will go to the ground. Okay? You give 12 volts here, you can give 9 volts, whatever, but see to it that the voltage here is constant. And you measure the voltage drop across these diodes. Choose the 2 diodes which have the same voltage drop, the closest voltage drop. So what you do is, you say, okay, this is D1, put a tape on it, and uska itna tha. You know, one after the other, you just keep writing down the voltages. You pick up the 2 which match the closest, and just solder them in. Don't bother with this balancing at all. So there's one more thing eliminated from it.
Diode drop, forward diode drop.
Ah, you can do that. You can do that.
Because normally what happens in this condition, थोड़ा सा voltage के temperature के साथ drift किया जाता है.
Yeah, that is another thing. If you leave the diode on for a long time, it will drift. So the other way is you say, okay, I'll put this diode in, I'll wait for 10 seconds and then take the measure. You can do that either way. Digital multimeters have a forward drop, so you can do that also.
This simplification part of the circuit is the
No, it's not. This is a simplification that I'm telling you about now. It's there in my build. Okay?
eliminating the balance.
Yeah, even in minima I'm using the same thing now. I'm no longer advocating carrier control. easier to do DC check and solder the bloody thing in rather than keep fiddling with these controls. So that is why it's done, right? Okay. Then come to the BFO. I think it'll be done. Okay. Yeah. Now what is happening is our crystal is now at 4.915 megahertz. Okay. So it has to be pulled. Now so to pull this one, this L5 instead of it being a toroid is wound on a TV balloon. So there are 10 turns on the TV balloon. Okay, there are 10 turns on the TV balloon. What is happening is that there is a great variation in this. So if you are not able to set the carrier properly, just drop this 22 PF. In fact, take it out. Don't even bother. The 22 PF, which is a C45, the C45 can go. Okay, at that point, if you are still not able to pull the frequency to the side, you will have to do one unfortunate thing which is not a part of the PCB, which is you solder one more crystal in parallel to this. So you have two crystals, the super VXO configuration. But this will not be required, just in case it's required. So the way to do it is, don't put it on the underside because that metal will go and catch somewhere. You take two crystals, solder them together, and then put that itself into the PCB.
That is why.
Right? Okay. Now I'll finally come to winding this. This is where most of the people go wrong with winding the rough gauges.
One pass in the toroid is one pass. What's the power of the rest of the 81 pass?
There it is.
As a Bruno and 10. Yes, one pass is one turn. Remember that. Toroid winding.
Yeah. Okay. Is that right? Yeah. Right. So you see this, right? This is so much better. So much better. Okay. So on this, I will tell you how to solve. Wind this coil. Take the same wire. Okay. And ripple it up. I'm sorry. मैं लेक्चर पे हूँ आसिफ साहब इधर से बात करूँ
गेज की रील लगे रखना ये क्या 28 तार के रील लगे रखना
Okay, I'll just tell you what I'm doing.
मेरी रील खत्म हो गई तार की
So basically you take this one length of wire, double it up, and then triple it up. Pardon me? Because there are three windings.
ट्राइफ्लर
Let's switch to this. There are three windings. All these transformers have three windings, right? So you put them all together like this, okay, so that they are tied, and then you tie them to something.
दिल में बोलोगे ट्विस्ट
Okay, then you have this, and then on this end you put it to something like this. I don't know whether you people are able to see this here. Okay, and then you just keep twisting this thing around. So now you have to get it like a rope, and you should have about 10 twists per inch. That is 0.1 inch per twist. It doesn't matter really, as long as it's all staying together and it's neatly twisted. It's fine. If you have 8 turns per inch, it's fine. If you have 12 turns per inch, that's fine too. But just see to it that there are uniform turns from here to there. Okay. What I usually do is I usually don't do this. I actually have a hook in a drill bit. So I put it in a drill bit and I do that so it happens very quickly. And because you have to be actually making this all the time, what I do is I usually have wire like this in my shack, which is already pre-twisted, about 1 meter length, and I just wind them. In fact, I even keep these transformers winded because they are all the same. Okay? Alright, so I've got some of it. Yeah. I'm actually pretty wasteful with these things because I cut these, to save my time. I'm an extremely patient man. So we have it here. So now what you do is just go back. Okay. So you put one end through this, pass it through, and loop it each time it passes through both the holes, that's one turn. So if it has gone through like this and come back, it's supposed to be 1.5 turns, right? Now if I put this through again, this is 2 turns. This is 2 turns. Okay? Then this is 2.5. And this is back to 3 turns. Right? So because we are at a slightly lower frequency, I prefer that you have 10 turns in this. So I do this 3. This is 4. Just pull it tight each time, not too tight, because if you put it too tight, it will nick and it might even short. 6.
Use a toothpick.
No, no, that's fine. It works. I'll be able to do 10 turns. I can do these like 100 these days. Last turn. Okay, so now I have this done. So you see what has happened is I'll now open up these on the 3 sides. Okay, so I'll have 3 wires on one side. Okay, I have 3 wires on one side and I have 3 wires on the other side. I'll actually open it up entirely fully. So you see now I have
6.
6 of them, right? So I have 3 wires on one side. So I have 3 wires on one side and 3 wires on the other side. Can you see that? So 3 wires.
Sound into that. That increases the log waves for me.
So even now I think it's much better.
Yes.
Okay, now what you have to do is has to be done now. What you do is I forgot to get a blade to scrap it. Okay, I forgot to get a blade to scrap it. But essentially now what you have to do is you have to check for continuity from one end to the other. So you see there are 3 wires on each end, right? So you look at a connectivity from, let's say, one end, that is this, here to here, from here to here, from here to here. So you should spread them out like that, that this wire continues here, this wire, so this wire from this end continues here, this wire from here continues here, this wire continues from here. That is the key thing, right? That these wires have to be spread out like a spider. So the top leg of right should be top leg of left, the center leg here, this here. So you basically hold it like a star. This wire continues here, this wire continues here, this wire continues here. Once you have done this, then it becomes very simple because here you will see there are 3 holes and 3 holes in parallel. You just have to insert them properly like that. You know. So you see this here. Okay, see there. So these 3 go in here and the other 3 go in at the other side like that.
This is with this year.
They already
Right,
decided.
I've shown you how the circuit is done, but I don't think that it's
And a drag filler went.
I'll just put it across and show you. I want to put it in. Yeah, from these, I'm actually doing it on purpose so that I can show them
चष्मे लागल्यानंतर भेटत ते काम करतात.
हां
So what has happened in this is the shoulder mask has blocked the wires. I'm unable to insert it properly. Why it's happening. See here. So I mean 3 here and 3 there. Yeah, see there, like that. I don't know if you guys can see it now.
Yes.
So 3 there going and 3 here. So essentially, what will happen is that the wire from here, which starts here, should go in here. The wire that starts here should go in here. The wire that starts here should go in here. So in this, you will see that these wires 3 spread out like this. So there has to be continuity between this wire here to the top here, the middle to middle, and the bottom to bottom, like that. But this is usually a source of a lot of confusion. But if you just do that, plug it in, it ought to work. Be very careful with the polarity of the diodes. Okay, that is one thing. There's another catch with this. This PCB is actually made for 2F39084 transistor. The emitter base collector are reverse of BC547. Okay, so what you have to do is, usually when we put the transistor in, this, if the configuration is like this is considered as emitter base collector, right? But now it is in reverse. So this, what you have to do is, in your transistor, the base has to be pulled forward and then inserted it back in reverse. For the 2N, this emitter base collector is how it is for BC547s which are there in your bag. Okay. The 2N3904 for which this was designed is the other way around. This is collector, this is the base emitter collector was there, and this is collector emitter, and this is the base. So it is reversed. The emitter and collector have been swapped. Okay, so the transistor is now being inserted like this. Okay, like this, where the base is this way. You have to pull the base like this and insert it back into the PCB. That's all. That's the only catch. Otherwise, there's no problem. So it is that. The good thing about the PCB is we have actually, although it looks pretty ugly, and it is ugly actually, it could have been far better. There are no tracks which are going very close to each other. So it's very easy to assemble. I have actually assembled 3 of them. They work without any incident. There are no RF oscillations or whatever. I think the PITX gain is a little more than what it ought to be. That's what I was discussing with Rahul. But, I just wanted to stick to the original one. That's there. And in case there is any problem, of course, the PITX mailing list is there. There are hundreds of people there who will be willing to help you. I'm going to upload this new data along with this errata on the Lamakan Amateur Radio Club site, because HamFest 2014 will come down. The site is on its live. So if there's anything, please ask me the questions on the mailing list. Don't ask me personally, because the idea is if I answer it on the mailing list, the answer is available to others also at a later time to follow. So that's it. If there are any questions, I'll take.
Please keep this site alive for a month or 2
Yeah.
and upload everything, whatever.
No, that is on the BITX mailing list itself. On the BITX mailing list, there are folders in which the pictures, everything. But to make these files, I'm going to make them into video in about a week's time. I'll put the video on YouTube and post the links again on the mailing list. Yeah. So now what has happened is, in this, let's just go back in this to that, right? This is 100 ohms. Change this to 22 ohms. That's another one. R41, right? That is. R41 is to be changed to 20 ohms. So if you change this R41 to 22 ohms, what happens is you have slightly more current coming into this transistor, the distortion is less. It will give you about 20 milliwatts output here. Okay, just 20 milliwatts, just 20 milliwatts output. I have not posted a power amplifier for this, and I'm opening this up to you guys. I want your suggestions here. The IRF 510 experience is not very good, and the antenna is not very good. See, there is a lot of capacitance in its output. I mean, on the output side, that is between the drain and the source, there is a lot of capacitance. that in case the capacitance is not absorbed into the matching network, it oscillates. So it's a very good, very low cost system for people who have a great antenna or who at least use an antenna tuner. Unfortunately, none of the Indians use antenna tuners. Very few use them. Okay, I use it only on the ladder filter. I just want to look at our club station here. Not a single antenna tuner, so we just use it blindly, which works well with devices which are meant for RF work, but not for IRF 510. So I really don't know, what alternatives we have. I wanted to suggest the IRF 510, but this is a highly reproducible design. The IRF 510, they make it work, but they say goes into self oscillation. So you tell them, why don't you put a dummy load and say they say dummy load doesn't chalta hai, dummy load it works very well. So it's a problem with the IRF 510, but I think we don't have a choice in terms of availability, right? This is a device which is available for 20 rupees anywhere off the street. I tried making a JPOD, which is very stable, which works with mismatched conditions, but the transistor blows up. At least IRF 510 is going to use the self oscillations. It was using 2218, 4 of them. I've made this thing called JPOD. It's extremely stable, very good gain, all the way to 30 megahertz, no problem at all. The problem with that is, again, if there's a mismatch, it blows up. So the RD devices are there, and they are about 350 rupees. I think they are worth the investment to make into that, or just do the right thing, use an antenna tuner. Yeah, the frequency range here, in this one, these component values, which are actually published in your Slovenia, it covers 150 megahertz, or 150 kilohertz. Okay, so it covers from 7 to 7.15. You have to be a little careful in setting the VFO. See, the thing is, the VFO is on the higher side. That is, the VFO is 7 plus 4.915. Okay, so it actually goes to, how much is that? 11.910. That is where you have to set it to start with. So from 11.910, it has to go to 860. Then you have a full coverage of the entire 7 megahertz band. Now the good thing with this 4.915 megahertz IF is, just by changing the value of the VFO and those 2 points there, you can go to 20 meters. Right? It's very easy to do that. You just have to change the VFO. And the VFO here is VCO. It is voltage controlled oscillator. So what you can do, those who would like to experiment is, where's the VFO gone here, right? Make this much, these VFOs, 2 transistor and this, 1 for each band. Right? 1 for each band here. So, through band selector you can change these, and up there, just go here. Yeah, further up. Yeah. From here, you take this off the main board. On a separate board, you just keep assembling band pass filters for whichever band you want. You can make a complete multi-band transceiver without a problem. Right? It's very easy to do that. The problem with 10 megahertz was you couldn't do a 10 megahertz band and all that. But with this, you can go to any band. It's like the K2 design. So you can go to all these bands. The VCO is extremely stable. Okay, now that is here the tip. Unfortunately, we could not pack them into these components today. Use SMD components for the VFO. It's very stable. It's extremely stable. There are two just go to the VFO here. Yeah. Okay. So there is a 47 PF here and 220 PFs here, as per the design in your thing. Just replace those with SMD components. They are very easy to get now. SMD components. Okay. Put them in SMD components. Put the quick fix on quick fix or heavy fix or whatever of the VFO thing. Yeah, and stick them up and see to that it just how you stick it into the thing itself. Otherwise, it has microphone execute, like hit the board and the frequency drifts for a little while before it settles down, etc. But I mean, the huge advantage is that you can now take the tuning and put it anywhere. So you can actually take this PCB and fix it into any box Into a candy box you can fix it, even into a cardboard box you can fix it, there's no problem at all. Just put aluminum foil around it so that the VFO doesn't drift and you're done. So you don't have to, yeah.
Sir, in Surendra it is written that there is a bandpass filter after the mixture.
Pardon me?
There is a bandpass filter after the mixture. It is written in the Surendra.
Okay.
But not in the circuit.
This is, that's a bad hospital.
After the mixture.
After the mixer.
After the mixer.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Is it there in the thing? No. There's an RF amplifier after the mixer. There's an RF amplifier after the mixer. After the RF amplifier, there's a band pass filter. I'm sorry if that's written. That's how it's written in the. This is on the transmit side, right?
Surface mount components you get from market. Yeah. So for all of
No, only the two
VFO.
capacitors.
VFO. Yes. You put that only specifically capacitors for the drifting. Resistance normally use 1,000. The capacitors use SMT, so they won't drift. Thank you.
Oh, no. Here, see the thing is, the mixer output, the mixer output for us, down. We are talking about this one. So after the mixer, it does not go directly to the crystal filter. Okay, it goes, this is a crystal filter. So from here, it goes to this amplifier, and from this amplifier, it goes to the crystal filter. That amplifier is required not for amplification purpose really, but this diode mixer requires constant impedance. The crystal filter only allows 4.9 megahertz to go and it reflects the rest back. So that should not get reflected back into the diode mixer. So for that you have an amplifier which is amplifying one way. So it will take all the stuff that this is playing and absorb it in. That's why that's that. So it's more like a buffer than it just. Pardon me? Yeah, almost any transistor can be put in here. See, the thing is this, you will not get any higher gain with that. Okay? Because the gain here is limited by the R13 and this 10 ohms. Okay? These are really crucial here. And they determine the gain. Achha, by the way, there is a dipole here. I'll tell you where. 10. This also can, this is 4.7, it can also be 10. Just drag this down. Yeah, this is wrong. This also has to be 10 ohms. All these resistors coming from the capacitor, from the emitter have to be 10 ohms. Okay, this is a dipole, this is R29. That's a dipole. The R29 also has to be 10 ohms. R29. Anyhow, I'll put all the stuff into the. But I want you guys to make it. This was one of the easiest PITXs yet. Okay, it's extremely easy to make. There's no dependency on anything else at all. Only those PV balloons which are required, you've all got them now. They are available. I'll be ordering more. They are actually available in Delhi. They're MHR electromagnetics. MDK Dynamics at Rajpath Market. 496. Yeah. So and they're actually very cheap. They're extremely cheap. They're not expensive at all if you buy them in bulk. So if your club would like to buy them, just ask them to send you a whole pack. Okay, so is there anything else? Or should we call it a day? I think we are already over time.
Huh?